Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is currently April 30th, which means another month is over, and it's kind of crazy if you ask me. I feel like this year is going by so fast. The fact that tomorrow's literally May is insane. But I have a bunch of books that I finished this month and I'd love to share it with you guys, so let's get into it. The first book that I finished this month was If Only I Had Told Her, which was kind of trending on TikTok, I believe, for a while because it is like a second sort of book to If He Had Been With Me, which is like this sad sort of YA love story, I guess, best way to tell you. And this is sort of the continuation of it, where it's after the first book and everyone's basically coping with everything that happened. I gave it 4 stars. I would say I enjoyed it, but I would say I only enjoyed the best friends part, not really anyone else's. I saw a lot of people saying it was really sad, sort of made them cry, and for me, the only part I sort of cried about was during Jack's, just because it resonated with me a bit more than any other part, but I would say it's definitely a good book, and if you've read the first one, then it's definitely a way to go on. The next book I read, or I guess I finished, because I was talking about it in the last video, that was my March reads. I finally finished Spare by Prince Harry. This took me, God, I'm like memoir-y kind of person. I'm not like someone who likes to read people's personal stories and stuff. I felt like the fact that he even considered himself the Spare, and like that's what he called himself, was so crazy to me. And I just like, I don't know, it kind of hit, like it hurt. Reading it hurt that all these things happened to him and his family wasn't on his side for any of it, and it's just like heartbreaking, I guess, to read that this was his life. And it explains so much more, because obviously we all saw the headlines that he wanted to like sort of take a break from his family and come to the US and everything. So it made so much more sense reading this with everything that he went through, because I felt like I wasn't caught up with it. Like, I knew about him, but I didn't really know his life like this. So reading it, I sort of truly understood everything he went to and how devastating it was for him, and just to live this like sort of crazy life, and to really not, I feel like he didn't really have anyone on his side, even his family, which is awful. So I'm actually happy that I read it, and it took me a while, but it was completely worth it, in my opinion. One of Us is back. Oh god. For anyone, this is the third in a series from the One of Us is Lying. So first book, it is basically someone dies in this really sort of big way, and with that, a bunch of people's secrets start getting shared, and there's like a whole like who killed him sort of vibe going on as well. And then the secret things going around, and everyone has secrets. We all know everyone has secrets. So that's going on, and then second book, more secrets and stuff like that. And it's basically like the people who do it are treating it like a game. So it's like the second book, it's truth or dare, and the first book, it's like you do this and I won't tell your secret sort of thing. Third book, after both times, it's sort of a game again, but I will say I was not expecting the, I guess, villain character to be who it was. I was completely shocked, and I think this is the first time where I haven't really predicted anything. So it was it was really, really shocking. The ending, I will say, authors know how to make the ending like super bang bang, get you in there, get you locked in, because I was completely locked in. I will say this, it does sort of switch POVs in basically every chapter, which isn't that bad, I think, in this one, because you get everyone's point of views, especially when they're not together for certain situations. But it's really interesting to see and to read, and I truly, truly enjoyed it as like a finishing for that series. Like, that was the end of it, that was that, and I think she did a fantastic job just finishing it like that and sort of giving the characters that like closure they needed to be done with everything and to sort of move on to the next part of their lives. Next book I read was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I read, I think it was, I can't remember the name of it, a different sort of academia romance last month, I believe, and it wasn't my favorite. But this book kind of changed my mind, if I'm being completely honest. This is the first one I've truly enjoyed, and I was like kicking my feet while reading it. Like, I was like giggling. It was so funny to me. I gave it 4 stars, which I think is the highest I've truly ever really given a romance. But it does talk a lot about science, which I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what anyone was talking about in any way, shape, or form. But it was sort of like they thought they didn't like each other. Like, she thought he didn't like her because of all these certain reasons, but he's truly like actually liked her for a really long time, which is crazy. But yeah, I was literally giggling because they tried hating each other so badly. Like, literally tried with everything in them to hate each other and to not like have this connection between them, which obviously didn't work. I think we all knew that was gonna happen, but definitely something I enjoyed, and I definitely recommend it for people. I do think it's such a great book. The next book I read was The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. I don't think I say his name right. Riordan? Rick Riordan? Anyways, the reason I read this book is because the Percy Jackson series originally ended with the 5-book series and then goes on to sort of the Lost Hero series, where some of the same characters are there, but there's more characters now, and this first book is you're introduced to a couple more characters. But recently, Rick Riordan wrote a couple more Percy Jackson books, but there's this huge age gap from the end of the first Percy Jackson to this like new stuff that he's writing. And this series, this 5-book series is supposed to be sort of that bridge in between it. So I started reading this one, and this was a 5-star for me. I was fully in depth. Like, I was in so deep. Ask literally any of my friends. I was visiting my friend for a day or so, and I was literally like enthralled by the book. She was getting ready, and I was just sitting on her bed reading. Like, I did not care. I was in my own world, truly. I just think the new characters that you sort of meet are so interesting, and they go on this quest that you end up learning so much more about, which you sort of, it's setting up for the rest of the series, and it's this big prophecy, these big quests, and everything that's going to end up happening, and this is sort of like the start of it, and these 3 characters are like learning that for the quest to actually happen at the end, the prophecy or whatever, they're like a part of it, and they have to, do all these things, and some of them are hiding secrets and lying, and then they're also finding out that they're demigods, and they're not actually just like regular people, and there's just so much going on, but in like a good way, that it sets it up for the rest of the series, which I started the 2nd book already, but I haven't gotten that far, so that will be in probably the next video, or the next month, or literally whatever ends up happening. The next couple of books I read were on my iPad, and it was Tutoring the Player, Hating the Player, and Scoring the Player. So it's sort of like a series, I guess. They're all like standalone books, but all the characters are intertwined. So it's the same characters in all of it, but each book focuses on two other characters. So it's like the first one, it's Jordan and Daisy. Second one, in Hating the Player, it's Violet and I don't remember his name. Violet and someone else. And then the third one, Scoring the Player, it's Dahlia and Felix. And then there's a fourth one, which I just started on my iPad, and it's Tempting the Player. But basically it's all like interconnected. So Tutoring the Player, it sort of sounds like as it is, and you have that sort of romance vibe, and they like, he asks her to be his tutor, even though he doesn't actually need one, but she liked his friend and was trying to like, basically he didn't like that was happening because he started to like her and didn't want her to date his friend. So that's what happened with that. And then, you know, obviously all that comes out, they start fighting, blah, blah, blah. I feel like I'm not really spoiling anything with sharing this, but if you don't want to know that, then continue on. Hating the Player, it's all the girls are roommates. So it's literally all the girls are roommates. They're all in the same house. So they're all the girls are very interconnected, and the guys are just, they all know each other from going to, I think it's Valley U, the university they're all at. So Hating the Player, it's basically another one of the girls, Violet, and one of the guys, they had like sort of a bad break, I guess is the best way to say it, between them. And it's basically through this, they're like start liking each other again, basically, and go on through that whole vibe. Scoring the Player is with sort of a shy, the girl's really shy, she plays golf, which I love because I play golf, but she is a very shy girl. She doesn't talk really to guys very often, and a video of her talking about one guy comes out. She didn't know it was recording of her. She didn't know someone was recording her when she was saying all these things. It came out, it was really embarrassing. The guy felt really bad, sort of thing, and then it's sort of a fake dating trope in there. But obviously, like, real feelings, we all know that's gonna happen. Real feelings sort of happen vibe, but yeah, I feel like that's a good explanation for it. But all the girls are interconnected, really tight-knit, because they're all roommates. So you constantly still see the same characters from the first and the second book into the third book, into the fourth book now too. Like, you've already seen all the other girls through it as well. So it's really nice to have that continuation. You learn so much. You start to really care about these characters. I care about them so much. Like, I felt like I related to them. I just like loved it. I loved reading it. I gave them all 4 stars. I'm just waiting for like a good romance to just like knock me out, like fully knock me out, being the best romance I've ever read. And I just haven't read one yet. So I'm waiting to give that 5-star to one that's just like truly there. The next book and last book that I read was The Defining Decade by Meg J. So it's Why Your 20s Matter and How to Make the Most of Them Now. I'm 22. And this book has honestly been something I've been wanting to read for quite a bit now since I first heard about it. But something was like, didn't want to admit that I'm in my 20s. Something in me was like, you're not 22. Like, it's not real. I've said in the past that I don't really like self-help books. And I would say that's still true. I'm not a big fan of them. But I will say this wasn't really self-help. This was more just giving you a better understanding, but still giving advice. That, and it wasn't on topics I really knew about. Being in my 20s now, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm really confused. I have just so much going on, and I'm trying to figure that all out on my own, living at home with my family, and just doing that, and it's complicated, and it's confusing, and it's draining thinking every day that I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and I need to figure it out because I feel like everyone my age already knows what they're doing and I don't. So it's this whole thing, and she puts it in a way that's so beneficial because she uses, I don't know if she uses actual names of clients, but she uses people's actual stories and them explaining their life and her giving advice and basically letting you know it's okay to be feeling these things, it's okay to be confused, but you have to still work and you still have to put in the time to like go towards your goals, because your 20s, yeah, you should be having fun, you should be doing all these things, but you want to be ready for when you're in your 30s and life really starts settling down, everyone's around you starts settling down, so you don't feel like you're behind the rest of your life. And so the book is split into 3 parts. So there's a work part, which having the work part first really, I think, got me into the book because I'm at a point in my career where it's just starting and I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and the idea of applying to jobs and doing all these things is so crazy to me and just not something I'm like fully in tune with yet. So knowing that it's okay to like be confused and to sort of be figuring things out, but still pushing myself to get a job and still understanding what's going on was sort of beneficial, and knowing that it's okay to not know what I'm doing, basically. The next part is love, so it talks about relationships and what kind of relationships you should have and something that's beneficial for you with all of that stuff. And then a lot of it she gives, like, I would say advice of what is like truly going to be helpful for you when you're looking at to getting into relationships in your 20s and what you should be looking for, and how like relationships should be beneficial to both you and your partner, not just, something that's there. It also gets you past, we're in a very hookup-esque culture, so it sort of gets you past those vibes and sort of thinking about like, yeah, an actual future with things going on. The next part is the brain and the body, which I don't really know how to explain that in the best way, but it's being healthy, using like your mind, pushing yourself to that next level, but also like knowing that it's okay to be in the unknown and everything's fine, but you still have to like take that next step. Basically the whole time she's talking about taking that next step to really feel like you're not behind anymore. The 20s is the time to start that career, to start that relationship, to get everything set up for when you're in your 30s and you want to like, actually have a life, start a family and do all those things. The 20s is a time to set all that up. Yeah, you may not start a family till your 30s, but you want to be with someone in your 20s that you want to start a family with. You want to talk about getting married in your 20s so that a family comes in your 30s. And basically, it made me feel better. It made me feel like I'm not behind in my life anymore, and the path I'm on is okay, and I'll get there, and it just made me really satisfied with what I'm doing now. Yeah, those are all the books I read for the month of April. I feel like I didn't track them as well on Goodreads as I usually do because I missed a couple, but I really do try to. And anyways, next month will be so much better, hopefully, and I'll actually be able to like totally keep track of what I'm doing. But I'm hoping to have a couple more videos in between then, but between now and the next monthly, I guess, recap. But we'll see, because I have life things going on with family and friends and career stuff. A lot of it's sort of taking off right now, so we'll see how that goes. And I'm honestly just sort of wanting to share more, I feel, and just really put myself out there. So we'll see how everything gets going, but I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.